Trump's in Asia, so he's posting late, which is why I'm posting late. But if you want to know more about the topic we're about to cover, I highly recommend this book, Countdown by Sarah Scholes. It will cover this topic in extensive detail. Also, at my library, that book was immediately available for audiobook on Libby, so it might be for you as well. The United States has more nuclear weapons than any other country. So far, so good. He's able to do one truth in here. That was accomplished, including a complete update and renovation of existing weapons during my first term in office. I gotta stop there. First, let's talk about the English that's used here. This was accomplished, including a complete update. So he's saying that the mass stockpiling of weapons was accomplished under his first term, including also updating all of those weapons. Now, both of those things are untrue. The mass stockpile happened much earlier. It's been happening for decades in the United States, and actually we're not continuing to build new weapons so much per se as we are maintaining older weapons, which is what he's talking about when he says this complete update and renovation, which again, if you read the book, no, it's not. Our nuclear arsenal is vast and massive and completely out of date. I mean, yes, they do things to keep it somewhat up to date, but they are constantly having to revamp the triggering systems, check on the weapons, make sure that they're not leaking anything. There are issues all over the place with accidents that happen with nuclear waste that gets not contained properly. It's a big issue, and it's definitely not up to date. And that book was published, I think, in 2024. So she knows what she's talking about. Because of the tremendous destructive power, I hated to do it, but had no choice. He did have a choice. Russia is second and China is a distant third, but will be even within 5 years. Now, part of that is true. Russia is second and China is third. I don't think China is going to get anywhere near the number of weapons we have because we stockpiled up again decades ago during the Cold War when we thought that it was possible that we would have to outspend Russia in order to defeat them. And it did work. So, that is why we stockpiled weapons. So China has no reason to do that. Because of the other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, the problem with that is there are a bunch of treaties against doing these exact sort of testing. And in fact, in the book, they were talking about some of the projects that they're doing in order to try and figure out when these nuclear tests are occurring underground, because part of what countries have started doing is they do these nuclear tests that are with much smaller weapons. So it doesn't register as a nuclear weapon, but they're still able to test principles and ideas. And they can also set off weapons in a sense that like they do the compression that a nuclear weapon would do, but they don't actually compress fissionable material, right? So they can do, or fusionable material. They don't do those types of tests where it's a full nuclear test anymore because one, there are treaties against it, but two, it does a lot of damage when you do things like that. Also, again, covered in this book, which completely directly contradicts everything that's being said here. Now, the big part of this is we're going to start doing them on an equal basis. The problem being that not all of our nukes are updated. And again, we have all these treaties with other countries that we are not going to test these nuclear weapons. So what, are we just going to break all of the treaties and say, well, Russia did it? Because we have no proof that they did. And that is also part of the problem here with the Donald Trump administration is he's saying these are terrorists, so we can just blow them up, and then provides no proof. So if he just says Russia and China, who we have these agreements with, are doing these tests and provides no proof, then why not start testing? Also, Pete Hegseth is in charge of the Department of War, right? So we have a drunk in charge of a nuclear program that very much needs updating, that the president is saying doesn't need updating because he's claiming that he did that all in his first term. And then he wants to break a bunch of treaties to go and just start testing them, even though he is, again, the president of peace. It's pretty bad on this case, but he's too dumb. He's too dumb, and they need actual scientists to do this, so it's not going to be that bad with this, but it's so dumb. It's so dumb because, it's a 10-hour book that he could have also read that would have made his entire post just gone. And this is in addition to the fact that he's the president and should have all of these briefings. I'm just ranting now. I'm just going to go. Bye.